Okay, so my name is Robert Thorogood. I currently write the Marlow Murder Club series of books and also the television show based on the Marlow Murder Club, which is on the You and Drama channel. And before then, many, many years ago, I created Death in Paradise.
Can you talk to us just a little bit about what you talked about in that talk there, about sort of Agatha's influence on you in terms of how you structure your dramas and your novels?
Well, I think it's obvious when you think of her major works that and also we know this from research and from her notebooks and everything, that she starts so often with the end, with the grand conceit, with the reveal. And so whenever I come up with a murder mystery, and certainly in Death in Paradise, when I was sort of learning what I thought a murder mystery was, because I've been doing this for 15, 16 years now, but when I started, we talk about what's the magic trick in this episode, what's the reveal. And so we quite often start, or indeed always start, with the end of the story, the reveal. You know, you think there are only 4 people who might have done it. There's this 5th person who might have done it, and that's the killer. And then having sort of worked out what the trick is, and having worked out what the world is. So, for example, I remember doing a story set in a radio station. So obviously you'll start to think things like, well, you could do a pre-record of audio, you've got soundproof booths. So you think in this world, in this episode, what could the trick be? And then the last thing you do is you populate it with people. So you've sort of got the shape of it, and you could put in, we've talked this morning about it being like algebra, you could put in X's and Y's to represent the story. Then you populate it with people. And then finally, the audience watch it, or the reader reads it from the beginning to the end, even though you planned it and wrote it almost from the end through to the beginning.
I mean, it sounds quite cerebral in a way. So where does the sort of the passion and the sort of emotion come in to make it the sort of thing that people want to engage with?
But that's really, really hard. The passion often is, I mean, the thing that I'm trying to do, and bear in mind I understand that this is pointless, is to try and write a story that I could give to Agatha. That's what I'm always thinking. I'd like to show her a story and go, Agatha, what do you think of this one? And obviously she'd improve it immediately. And I can't even come close to matching this psychological, the way she gets her characters to be so engaging, so dark, so interesting and funny. You know, people don't talk enough about how funny some of her characters are, even though Poirot is an inherently comic character, and he uses that to solve crimes, obviously. So the passion comes from trying to come up with a story that's good enough, and the passion comes from trying to hide the killer, because once you've got the shape of a story, the best way to populate it and hide the killer is by having such engaging characters. This is what you're aiming for. I'm not saying we achieve it, but to have such engaging characters that you're just following the story. When we read in Agatha Christie, as she goes from interview to interview, I just want to know what they have to say next, because I so want to know more about the characters. And she's so good at, in each interview, revealing a new little information. I always imagine a diamond, the facets on a diamond. Every time there's an interview, you need to just turn it so you catch another facet of the character, another facet of the story. But ultimately, it is to try and create a story that feels coherent, like proper literature, and yet still has the magic trick at the end that you go, oh, it's so obvious. And it's impossible to do, but when you get close to doing it, it's so satisfying.
So do you think that Agatha Christie and her novels just occupies a little part of your back of your brain all the time?
All the time. And it's problematic because when I was working on Death in Paradise, I was thinking about crimes in the Caribbean. So I remember reading an amazing story about the perfect murder of a scuba diver, true story. We're vampires writers, we just steal from real life tragedies, it's terrible. 2 scuba divers, and they'd just got married. So everything about it screamed murder mystery. And what happened was that when they were underwater, he just held her arms, took off her breathing mask, and then she drowned. And when eventually the body was found, there were no marks that they could prove. And in the end, he went down for it, thank heavens. But that's a good murder. And so you go, oh, I could use that in the Caribbean. But the problem I have now with the Marlow Murder Club, which I've set where I live, is that now when I go out and about on a dog walk, or what were we doing recently? And I'll see something in the town and I'll just suddenly go, oh, that could be a murder. So unfortunately, when I'm in Marlow now, where I live, sort of the town has become a place where my work brain is actually in, because I'm thinking of murders, which is, it's not healthy and it's not right and it's not good.
Just finally then, we've got the statue being unveiled today. I mean, that's quite a nice thing. Torquay really sort of, does celebrate Agatha and probably should do more.
Well, quite right. I mean, there's the statue, isn't there, outside the Spaghetti House in London. When my wife and I've been going out with her for many, many years. We were at school together. And the very first time we kissed was outside the Spaghetti House, where eventually fate would put the Agatha Christie statue it's by Leicester Square, isn't it? Anyway, it's impossible to do the geography of London around there. It's near Seven Sisters, not Seven Dials, Seven Sisters. But the statue's, it's sort of a relief, isn't it? And it's not enough. So I think the idea that you could sit on a bench and have a chat with Agatha and tell her your worries, and that would be amazing. So I can't wait to see it.